In this video, I will be reviewing the Totalman Rod Extender 4.0. It's the latest and greatest from the Totalman product lineup. As we all know, they have put out a lot of great products throughout the years. But how does this Totalman Extender stack up to not only their previous iterations, but some of the newest contenders, including the Apex Extender? I put a lot of hours into this extender recently because I wanted to give it a good try, and I have a lot of thoughts and opinions on it. So stay tuned because I'm going to do a deep dive, tell you my thoughts and opinions, my ultimate review, and whether you should get this extender or not. It's going to be a short but interesting video, so let's get started. Okay, so first let's go ahead and review a little bit more about the Totalman Extender. So basically the Totalman Extender, just the extender by itself costs $67. Now this is in comparison to something like the Apex Extender, which is $170. This is just a frame. So it's roughly about half of the Apex Extender. So it's one of the more a little bit cheaper, one of the more economical options that you have if you want to get an extender. Keep in mind that you will still need to buy the vacuum cups regardless, whether you're getting the Apex or the Totalman Rod Extender. So this is just a cost for the extender itself. Now Totalman was kind enough to send me the complete package for free for me to review. But I'm not getting paid for this. This is my completely, unbiased opinion. Now, I do love a lot of the products. I've used the products for years, for about 3 years now. I remember since like the early, I think 2.0 version of their stuff that I started using it. And, I've liked a lot of the products since then. So, since then, I've had to buy, things like accessories such as like the sleeves and, other things that I like. But the extender, I never really had a need to buy a new one until I saw the Apex Extender, just because, I'll actually show you the differences why I bought the Apex Extender. So in any case, so here I'm just reviewing just the extender by itself. And so just kind of keep that in mind about the cost and how it compares to something like the Apex Extender. Okay, so here's what the extender looks like. So here I've already assembled it. If you want to see what it looks like before you assemble it, check out my Totalman 4.0 unboxing video. I'll go ahead and link it up above. But essentially here I put it together. I will show you a little bit of the parts that come with it, kind of talk about how you put it together. But essentially you get this little bag, and in this little bag comes all these little pieces here, little pieces of rods of different lengths. And essentially you just kind of screw one into each other like this, and then you screw them into the base here. So this is the base, and you just screw them, and make sure you use even sizes, and you basically kind of add as many these little rod extensions as you need. Now, one of the key things that has changed from the 3.0 to the 4.0 model are these little metal pieces here. So essentially what these do is it adds stability to the rod extender such that it doesn't really bend. Too much. It's not nearly as stable as, say, like the Apex. Well, I'll compare those in a little bit. And it's definitely like you can still see kind of if you apply some pressure to the rods, it kind of caves and it does move. But however, these little metal pieces does add a lot of stability. And the way that it works is basically you add you put together the rods, and then you use this little Allen wrench. You insert this little metal rods here, and then you tighten it with the Allen wrench. It's super straightforward, super easy to put together. And there you go. You basically just add as many rods as you need for your penis size. And then you can use it with their Totalman cups, which is what I do and what I did when I tested the product. So you can basically use that. You can also use something like a compression plate. I've mentioned this many times before. I actually like this compression plate. It's quite nice. You can use this. This is a little bit of a cheaper option if you don't want to buy the vacuum cups. But I highly recommend that you use the vacuum cups. You can also use their compression plate here. I didn't try the mail hanger. I don't know if it fit, to be quite honest. It might fit, I'm not sure. But yeah, you can just definitely use the Totalman compression plate here. I haven't tested out their compression plate yet, so it's something that's in my things to do. In any case, you put them together, and before you basically tighten it with the Allen wrenches, you put this little rubber bands here. So they give you a bunch of these little rubber bands, and you put the rubber bands. And what Totalman, what Mike from Totalman suggests is to put basically 5 on each side, and you put them here at the bottom. So these are the 5 that I have at the bottom. And so yeah, then after they're in there, you tighten it up with the Allen wrench, and you're good to go. So it's nice, and it's basically nice and sturdy and put together. So now I'm gonna go ahead and start actually giving my thoughts on this. So and for that, I'm gonna go ahead and bring out the rod extender, the Totalman rod extender 2.0, and the Apex extender right here, which I have reviewed before. So so the Totalman Extender 2.0 is where I got most of my gains with. I'm going to say I gained about 1 inch just with this extender alone, which is great, and utilized it with the Totalman cups. I'm going to have a separate video where I review and show you how to use the newest Totalman cups. And kind of spoiler, but I did test out my double taping technique with the Totalman cup, the one that I outlined in the other video, which I'll link here, and I got no blisters. It worked amazingly well. And before, I used to get a lot of blisters just with the single taping technique. With the double taping technique, which means using micropore tape and the Coban wrap, it works amazingly well. No blisters, and I used it for up to like 8 hours in one session. I used the new rod extender 4.0. Okay, so what do I like? What don't I like? Number one, it's actually very, very comfortable. So it's as comfortable as the 2.0, which I really like. It's a lot more comfortable than the Extender, but I still think the Apex is slightly more comfortable just because it has a slightly bigger surface area. You can sort of tell here how the bases are basically the same. When it comes to the depth here of this little cutout part, they're basically the same. So I'm gonna have it's very, very comfortable. I will give it that for sure. At first I was worried that because here the base here is basically made out of plastic here, and it kind of wiggles a lot. So I was kind of worried like that this was going to essentially break, as I used it and I applied a lot of tension. But it actually held up quite nicely. Another thing is, unlike the another thing is basically that because it kind of like wobbles a little bit, the way that I extend is I extend straight out, and I basically sit on my bed, put a couple back pillows, and I sit. But I need to put something here, kind of hold it up in a straight position. However, I needed to do that with every single one of these extenders. So even like the Apex extender, which is a little bit sturdier and it's harder to move, I still put something here to kind of hold it in place, to kind of keep it at a straight out position, just because it kind of goes down a little bit, so it's not fully. I wonder if I like tighten the knots, the bolts here, the screws here, if it'll stay more in place. But in any case, something I had to do with all 3 of them is basically have something to kind of hold it up straight out. So this stability here, even though it's made out of plastic, it gave me no problems at all. It was quite good. The way that you add tension essentially is you put it on and you attach this little thing here to the penis. So like you basically you attach the cup here. You attach the cup to the to this little hook here, right? And this has like a rubber, some sort of like band, that elastic band that gives the tension. So that's how you apply the tension here. So and then if you want to add more tension, you add more of these this little rubber bands. So you put them up here, and then you can put it up here, and then you add more of these rubber bands as you have it on, and that gives you tension. Now Totalman, Mike said that in his opinion, it's easier to add the rubber bands than it is to adjust the thumb nuts here. I disagree. Sure, putting them on is easier, but taking them off is a pain. And so let's say that, okay, I'm done for my with my session and I want to take them off. It's kind of a pain, like it's time consuming, whereas with this you just like unscrew it. Secondly, so I think this is the biggest problem for me, was that once you have tension, like let's say I have, I would actually use all 5 rubber bands. Like my penis is adapt enough to use all 5 rubber bands, because I wanted to test a sort of maximum tension, which is he says using 5 rubber bands, and I did this for many hours, and again, double taping, no blisters. And the problem is, like, now I want to take a break. So usually I'll take a break like every hour or so. I'll take it off. But putting it back on was a giant pain because let's say that you have all 5 rubber bands. This is quite hard to grip. I don't know if you see here. To grip with your hands and then pull it down, it's a pain in the ass to then go and hook it back into the cup. Especially when you have like, all 10 rubber bands basically engaged, and it's a huge pain. There's kind of a little thing, a groove here that you can sort of grab and go down, but you can only use your fingers, and it's quite difficult. What I would have liked is something here that I can kind of grab it by the sides, something I can kind of put my hands down, and then I can pull it down so it's easier to re-engage the cup after I have it on, without having to either take off the rubber bands or like really be struggling with my fingers and then like having slip off. Like that was honestly like a huge pain. The one thing that I didn't like. So, but I do feel like with a little slight design change, something here that I can kind of pull down, that'll basically be fixed. Another problem that I didn't like is that you cannot easily measure the tension. Now, granted, like when you use the rubber bands and you add the rubber bands, the tension that you're adding, the tension weight, is linear as opposed to exponential. So when you're using something like the Apex and you're adding tension, basically the tension kind of doubles. As you go down, it doubles, quadruples, and so on and so forth. It's exponential. Whereas here, when you're adding rubber bands, it's more linear. So adding one rubber band is, I believe, like 2 pounds, 2 pounds of tension. So you can adding two rubber bands is about 2 pounds of tension. And so you add 2 more, and like you add 2 more pounds, 2 more pounds, as opposed to like, you add 2 more, it's going to be 2 pounds. You add 2 more, it's going to be 4 pounds. You add 2 more, it's going to be 8 pounds, and so forth. It's just more linear, as I mentioned. So, but the problem is that unlike the Apex, in which you can actually very easily know how much tension you're applying by measuring the length of the rods of the springs as they're compressed. So you can just use a caliper, as I showed in my Apex review video. I'm going to go ahead and link that above. But unlike this is not an easy way. There's no easy way for you to actually measure that. So for the Apex, you don't even need a scale to measure it. You can just measure the rods. And you can just use like a little cheap caliper or a little ruler, and then and in the future the Apex is going to have a little attachment that you can basically attach here, and you're going to know exactly how much weight you're applying. They're also going to have a built-in scale. So I would love for it this extender to have something like that. Mike mentioned that there's some sort of lines here that you can use as a reference. Basically, if you buy a scale, you can actually measure the tension. You basically, let's say that your penis under traction falls here. You can then use a scale to see how much weight that is, and then add more rubber bands, and then see what each rubber band is going to apply, when you're there. But it's definitely not as easy as just being able to measure the springs on the Apex. And I would imagine you could probably do the same thing with their Totalman 2.0. So, as you guys know, when you have an extender on, you have to dynamically add tension as you have it on. You cannot just keep it at one tension, because your penis basically starts to relax. The penile tissue starts to relax, and so you start to lose tension, and you have to add more tension to sort of maintain a steady tension weight. So if you watch that Apex review, I go through, that basically those studies and how do you maintain and why and how you maintain a steady traction force. In any case, so measuring the weight is a pain. Like, it's not easy. And, I didn't even really bother because it's just such a cumbersome. And I have a scale, so you have to buy a scale, and I didn't really bother just because. But at the same time, like, you sort of know yourself, and you don't have to be fully scientific like the way that I am. I want X amount of tension forces here. You can follow the like BD's interval extending, and you probably get a lot of gain from this, because there you only need to measure the strain, whereas with this, or with my routine that I recommend, is you're measuring a steady tension force using dynamic tension adjustment, dynamic adjustment. So that's what I recommend. But I think if you're following like BD's interval length protocol, which mentioned the strain basically, this will work perfectly fine. Like you don't need to measure exactly like how much weight you're applying. It's basically you're measuring what the effect that it's having on your penis, so it's a little bit different. So if you don't need to measure the weight, then you know, that's not a problem for you. So yeah, so that's kind of like my kind of like overall review of it. I still much rather prefer their Totalman 2.0. I do like that this cutout is cut out just like the apex here, because I can use like my LG hanger. But you know what, these days I'm actually, one thing that I really liked is like, now that I'm using the double taping technique, and I'm not getting no blisters, I'm actually going back to the Totalman cups from my LG hanger chamber, because it just has a slimmer profile, so it's a lot easier. Like, hey, I need to run a little errand or I need to do something, you know, I can just kind of put it in my pants and it doesn't stick out like this huge ass thing like the LG hanger chamber. So basically, you know, with the cutout sign, the sign, it's easier to use the cups. Like if you try to push it here, just like I did here, you know, you can lose some, like you can start pushing back like the sleeve here, like you know, as it happened here. So I much prefer the cutout design. However, in general, I think what they should have done, like for this to be a proper upgrade, is done like what the 2.0 was. Just add a cutout design, make it a little sturdier by adding like a stability bridge here to make it like sturdier, and I think that would have been better. You know, I get it. Like one of the things that you know, Totalman says is that this one's a lot more sleek, and you can actually put it in your pants and your shorts and like do things around the house. You know, I think like if you're extending, like you're not doing things around the house. If I want to do something quickly around the house, I'm gonna take it off, go do the thing, and then go and sit back down and put the extender back on. So I'd rather have something bulky that's easier to use, that's, you know, that's easier to measure the weight, than something that's slimmer. Because, you know, if I were doing something around, like I'm gonna use an all-day stretcher, right? Like they're just two different things that you're gonna do with it. And you know, also like I mentioned, the dynamic tension adjustment I'm a big fan of. And so sure, you can add the rubber bands, and that works fine. But you know, it's mostly like if you take a break and you want to put it back on, it's a huge pain because of this, the way that this thing is designed. It's, you know, kind of like easily like slips off your fingers there. So okay, what about like for the treatment of Peyronie's of curvature? So I much more liked the 2.0 design because it was made out of metal. So as you know, there's the stick trick, which I've talked about before, in which basically you can create a fulcrum here such that when you're extending, you're applying direct tension to the scar tissue. In your case of a dorsal upwards or a ventral downwards curvature, you can basically put this here, put the stick trick, and treat the curvature that way. With the Apex, it's even better because it's much sturdier than the 2.0. Whereas with this, it's just way bendier. It's not as it still works. Don't get me wrong, it still works, but it's just not as sturdy. When it really becomes a problem is when you're trying to treat a sideways curvature. Let's say you have a ventral curvature, basically meaning to the sides. What I recommend is using the strap trick. Basically, you put this, you know, you put this in the penis, and then you apply, you know, you basically kind of attach it to one side here, and then you basically kind of you know, you treat the curvature that way, and then you apply tension. This is just kind of really not sturdy, and this was the same problem that it was with the 2.0. So you know, it might work. I honestly didn't really try. I don't have a ventral curvature. I've tried it before with the 2 and the Apex. With the 2, it was like, it just was the same thing, you know, because like this moves so much. It was a problem. But with the Apex, it's much better because the Apex just has a much better stability. And so yeah, so that's kind of you know, what I wanted to talk about for the treatment of Peyronie. So what are my overall thoughts, you know, at the end of the day? You know, at the end of the day, I actually liked it. I actually did like it a lot. I used it for many hours, and honestly, like, if it wasn't for those two things, like easily measuring the tension, and this, like literally this was the main cause for me to like, nope, go back to my Apex. Like that's the only reason. But if you're lower on budget and you just want like a complete package, like something that you don't have to worry, like, oh, I gotta mix and match pieces, like I gotta buy this extender from one company and the vacuum cup from another company, you just want to buy everything in one place, I will still highly recommend the Totalman package, because it comes with everything that you're gonna need, and then you can always sort of graduate right to the apex when you sort of need it, right? But if you're a beginner, I think this is perfectly fine. You know, it doesn't cost, it's good quality, it doesn't seem to break, especially when they added these little metal pieces. You know, sure, this may be a bit of a pain in the ass, but when you're a beginner, you're not going to be applying as much attention as I am, right? And so you can kind of deal with that, right? Like that's kind of the, you know, you're saving money, but you're adding to the sort of the features that you have with the more costly extenders. And so, yeah, overall, what I recommended, yeah, I would actually recommend it. Like, if you're on a budget and you want to just buy something, a package that's going to give you everything that you're going to want right off the bat, and you don't want to, you know, sort of overthink things and do too much research, I would absolutely recommend this extender. So I actually, honestly, I actually liked it a lot more than you know, than I thought I would. There was a lot of people kind of talking crap about it, saying how like brittle it was, how like, you know, it would easily break. Granted, that may have been with the 3.0, but with the 4.0, I just didn't see any of that, even with the maximum tension applied. So would I recommend it? Yeah, I would absolutely recommend it, especially for something in within this budget, within this price range. And there you go, boys, another review of another extender. I'm becoming like the extender king over here with just about every single extender. So yes, I would highly recommend this way more than an AliExpress. However, if you have the money, and you want to, you know, you're doing a little bit more research, you have the budget for it, I think just get the Apex extender. It's just better quality, it has more features, so it just depends on your budget ultimately. So for the price range, it's very good, much better than any cheap AliExpress extender that you can buy. So stay tuned, because I'm going to do more product reviews of the Totalman 4.0 lineup. So next, I want to focus on their cups, their 4.0 cups, which means that includes the new pump and how to put it on and all this stuff. So I had a few learnings as I kind of used it. So yeah, stay tuned for those videos. And if you found this video helpful, please make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get those subscriptions up, boys. And yeah, check out these other videos which may be relevant to you. And I'll see you next time. Peace.